Hey there, you're listening to Not Another TV Podcast. This is episode 50, the week of June 29th, 2024. My name's Drew Koenig. With me, as always, my co-host, Mads Masassi. Mads, how we doing?
We're here, and we're queer, and Pride Month is almost over.
Pride Month is almost over, yeah.
This month went by really fast.
It did go by so fast. Just so fast.
We started the month at ATX, and I feel like it felt to me like it was just last week, but it wasn't. Like
ATX feels like it was both last week and 6 months ago.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not sure how that's possible, but that's the way I feel.
I mean, it's kind of how it works when like you're anticipating something. Like time both goes by really fast and also slow as molasses, depending on the moment.
We're at the big 5-0. 50 episodes in now.
Wow,
It's a lot.
we survived.
And you did most of those episodes.
I did quite a few of them, yes.
Yes, all but like 5. All but like 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
We actually are coming up on your year anniversary on this podcast.
Wow,
You started
crazy.
You started at the end of July, I think.
Sure. I know it was some time ago. I just can't tell you.
Some time ago.
Listen, I'm not going to remember stuff unless I write it down or some kind of social platform reminds me of things. So I'm going to trust you on this, that is a correct thing, saying I started at the end of July or whatever.
I believe that's right.
It sounds right, so I trust you.
Also noteworthy, we are halfway through the year.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. How do we feel about this year so far?
It started off terribly.
Yeah.
Like, terribly. You know, our puppy got hit by a car a few days after the new year. And then our cat had a medical emergency like a week later. Like, it was insane. But since then, things have really mellowed out, and I've had a good time, you know. I'm feeling okay about it.
Okay. How are we feeling TV-wise about the year?
It's not been the greatest. Like, there's been some pockets of good, but like...
I mean, we've had some real bangers.
There's been some really good ones. I don't know, I just feel like, especially right now, it just seems like the TV landscape is just so uninspired and empty, it feels.
Yeah, I can see that. But also, I feel like we've had a lot that we've, talked about on podcasts this year that, like, will definitely end up on our end of year list.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They're definitely gonna rank pretty high,
Yeah,
so like,
I just feel like less things that I've like been obsessed with. You know, like I've liked things here and there, but like I felt like last year there was a ton of TV that I was like, "Oh my god, I'm obsessed. I'm keeping up with this, you know, whatever."
Right.
And maybe it's just the last few months, but I feel like I've dropped off on a lot of things we start watching. And then just be like, yeah, Drew can carry the conversation about it because I stopped watching. Like, I don't know. We'll see how the rest of the year goes.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. But we've had like X-Men '97, Interview with Vampire and Evil, and Fallout, like a lot of really great stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. I watched kind of like in the vein of this is good, but it's not as great as it could be. I watched like the first episode of season 3 of The Bear, and I'm just like, I remember for seasons 1 and 2, I like got sucked right in. And I just feel like this first episode, I was just like, okay.
No, the quality is definitely dipped. But we'll talk about that next week.
We'll discuss that in more depth once we've had time to watch the whole season. But that's something that's been on my mind, and also just feeling like I have conversations with friends all the time about these streaming shows and these streaming services that like are just screwing over a lot of good television. And so like I think maybe that's kind of clouded me a bit too about TV this year. It's just been so dismal.
Like
So,
I started watching Wadla on Apple TV Plus, which is a
mhm.
animated show. It's very expensive looking. It's very kind of Pixar adjacent,
Okay.
and like it looks incredible. All 7 episodes, they all dropped immediately. I've heard no one talk about it. Not a single person has talked about the show, but it looks amazing.
Yeah.
And you're like, what are we doing? Like, what's going on? I have to say, I'm feeling fairly confident. I mean, like the back half of the year is where it always really comes together.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, fall season's always stronger than spring and
Yeah.
summer. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been some major highlights for me. I know here, you know, we're going to talk more about this episode later on, but you know, we're 5 episodes in on the Acolyte, and I know it's going to be in my end of the year list.
Yeah.
Because it's just been consistently so good. Interview with the Vampire's been good. Evil's been good. Hotel Cocaine has actually been decent. It's not the greatest, but like it's not terrible either. Fallout was really good, which I was very shocked by because I'm very indifferent about game to TV products. um which is why I haven't watched The Last of Us, even though people say I'll like it. So, you know, we'll see. We'll have to see.
Yeah, even just on like a pure TV watching level of like, oh, here's all the stuff I watched. I'm like, I'm feeling pretty good about this. Just on like a personal like commitment level. Let's move on to some news. So our first piece of news here is that Interview with the Vampire was renewed for a third season. A third season that will be adapting the Lestat Rockstar plot line from Queen of the Damned, which also means we're going to get Queen of the Damned. And I'm not prepared for that to happen.
The number of, because you know it's been, the meme has been going around because of Justin Timberlake's statement that things that he said to the police when he got pulled over for his DWI. You know, the whole "this is going to ruin the tour." What tour? The world tour. The number of Interview the Vampire memes that are now out there with that meme makeup is hysterically amazing. I'm here for it. Sam Reed has such a charisma as Lestat that I'm ready to see that dramatic bitch as a rock star. I'm here for it. The other thing that I find really comical is that the creator, in his statement, I think it was the creator, showrunner, maybe showrunner, whatever. Anyway, in their statement, they apologized to Sam Reed's family and friends for him having to possess this character a little bit longer, meaning, so sorry he has to keep the hair for another year. And I'm laughing because I'm like, here you are announcing a new season of a show, and then in the like bottom of your statement, you're saying, so sorry to Sam Reed's family and friends. I apologize for giving him this amazing job that I don't actually apologize for. It was very funny and very in line with the cast and creatives of this show. And so, like, it's been a great time watching the world react to this renewal.
Rockstar Lestat is going to be great. It's going to be so much fun.
Yep.
But also, and I am sorry, I do have to drive this point home a little more. They're going to have to cast Aaliyah's character from Queen of the Damned. And there's not a single person on the internet that's ready for that to happen.
Yeah.
I just want us to all buckle in.
We think we're ready for this new season. We are not. We are not ready for it at all. And you know what's really funny to me about Interview with the Vampire is they don't promote this show really at all. AMC has basically kind of just thrown up their hands and been like, well, the people that want to watch it already know about it, so like whatever. Like they don't really try to promote it. These actors are mistakenly being overlooked for Emmys, and it's like, this is such a disgrace. But then you get a renewal for a third season, and it's kind of like, fuck you, AMC. We're gonna make sure this show stays on the air. Like, you may not care, but we do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But also,
AMC's so weird about their shows.
Yeah, but also, Interview with the Vampire is coming to Netflix.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh.
Which means there's going to be a whole influx.
It's going to blow the fuck up.
It's going to be an influx of...
Oh, I like it being its own niche little thing, though.
Things can only stay niche for so long.
I know. Same thing happened with Schitt's Creek. I was in the niche Schitt's Creek fandom like a year and a half or so before it went to Netflix and blew up because of the pandemic. But I was just like, damn it. I mean, I'm on one hand, I'm happy because I'm like, yes, more people need to be watching this show. But on the other hand, I'm like, ugh, but then the fandom's going to become intolerable and I can't handle that. But yeah, my group of friends, we are constantly taking on Lestat's voice and going, Louis, more. Like, we'll say stupid shit, but we'll say it very dramatically, Louis.
And so for our second piece of news, Martin Mull, illustrious character actor on TV for many decades, has passed away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't catch how old was he?
He was 80. Yeah, 80. He was 80. So, okay. I mean, he wasn't young by any means, but they said it was after a long illness. That's very sad and disappointing, but he's definitely one of those guys that if you don't recognize his name, search it, you'll see his face, and you'll be like, oh, that guy. Very, very famous for, very apropos for our Pride Month theme of queer characters, but he was very famous for playing a queer character on Roseanne in the 90s when that wasn't very... 80s and 90s when that wasn't very mainstream.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, he was on a couple episodes of Not Dead Yet. He was on Arrested Development, Roseanne, like you said, a little bit of Veep.
He's on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I remember that a couple times too.
So he was a very working actor.
Definitely.
It's kind of if there was a shows from the 90s and the aughts and a little bit in the 10s and 20s, like he was probably there. With that, we are going to move on into the GOAT. The GOAT is a weekly segment we do here on the podcast where myself and Mads nominate a best TV character or episode of all time and pit them against each other. So we are introducing a fun new wrinkle to this that we may or may not end up using this week. Who knows? You all know that every 10 rounds of the GOAT is what we call a batch. And with the batch, we pick whoever, we count whoever won the most out of that batch. And also, we have a redemption round. Our new wrinkle is that we are adding a veto system, which is very much stolen from Trial content. Every batch, we can win a veto when we win that batch, or if we win a redemption round. And our vetoes will never expire, and we can use them whenever we want, except for a redemption round, and we can, use it at our discretion. A thing we veto can be used at a later date. So yeah, it would be a nice little wrinkle. We're starting from the last two batches, where our second to last batch, Mads won a veto and I won a veto, and then I got another veto for winning the last batch, the most recent one. So that will give me 2 vetoes. Mads, you have 1, and we will see, because we are still doing a poll for the redemption round, so we will see who gets another veto. Let's kick off with our next GOAT pick. And this is our last week of the Pride themed. But so I'm going to go first. And I did go back and forth on this a little bit, but I decided to go with my gut here. And so my pick for this week is going to be Samantha Groves, also known as Root from Person of Interest, played by Amy Acker, who is just the most delightful bit of chaos. Like, just very controlled chaos. Root, you could call her a hacker, you could call her an anarchist who gets swept up into the goings on of Person of Interest and gets allies herself very strongly with the machine. And the thing I like about Root is the thing I appreciate about her is she is absolutely a queer character, but and it's kind of like the thing we hope the most for a queer character is that they are queer, but that queerness is not prioritizing. It's not defining. Where, yeah, Root will at every possible opportunity flirt with Sarah Shahi's character in the most aggressive way that I think I've ever seen a character flirt with another character. That is true, absolutely, but also does not take away from the fact that she's an absolute agent of chaos and is extremely dangerous and uh, also becomes disabled throughout the course of the show when she's attacked with a drill into her ear. There's just so much going on with Root that I deeply love. And every time she showed up on screen, it was just like this burst of energy. Partly due to how Amy Acker plays that character, which is just the utmost mischief, which I do just so love. But also, again, her scenes with Sarah Shahi's character, Samit Shah, is just delightful every time. I love it so much. So that is my pick for this week. Root from Person of Interest.
Well, so my pick for this week is also a female character. Karen and I have been doing a rewatch. Well, the first two seasons have been a rewatch for me, but now we're hitting parts of Riverdale I have not seen before.
Oh boy.
So it is a watch of Riverdale for the first time. And we have thoroughly agreed that one of the absolute best characters on the whole show is Cheryl Blossom.
Oh, this is such
And
a beatable pick.
I didn't even think about it like that. I literally am just like, Cheryl is such a badass. If you want to veto, you can.
I'm
You
hanging on
totally
to
can
my
if you
veto, but
want.
I just want to say for the record.
It wasn't me I'm truly not trying to like run away with this. I literally was like very narrow-mindedly being like I've been thinking about Cheryl for the last 2 weeks and nothing but Cheryl and her bright red hair and her cherry red lips and just how extra this woman is. Like she doesn't get what she wants. All right, she's going to take a candle and set fire to her house. She she just does what she wants. She walks through the world with a distinct confidence and power within her. And yet she's also super insecure. And so it's nice to see someone that is very bitch quality basically be very human and very just wants to belong somewhere. And she just everything she does, it just amongst the chaos that is the town of Riverdale, she sometimes brings the chaos but also sometimes manages the chaos. So it's a nice mixture and complex character, and her queerness is just part of who she is, but it's not a defining characteristic of her. And so, yeah, Cheryl Blossom.
Yeah, my favorite thing about Cheryl is that when Madeline Petch was first starting on Riverdale, they asked her what she thought about the color red, and she's like, "I don't care for it." And they're like, "Well, that's a problem because that's like a defining part of her character."
Yeah. um Kara and I actually just watched her initiation into the serpents and getting the red leather jacket. And I'm just like, honestly, I want that jacket. It's iconic. Like, she gets her own color jacket in a biker group. Anyways. But yes, Cheryl Blossom, you will always be famous.
Robin Jeffrey is going to betray me on this poll, I can already tell. Alright, so those are our picks for this week. Root from Person of Interest going up against Cheryl Blossom from Riverdale. You'll have 2 days to vote for this, and the polls for this will be up on Twitter and Blue Sky and Instagram and Tumblr. And to continue our themes for next week, we are going to be picking from a show that we watched before we were adults. Any show from when we were 17 and younger. Be sure to keep an eye out for that. Until then, let's move on to the main part of our show.
Time is an illusion that helps things make sense. So we're always living in the present tense. It seems unforgiving when a good thing ends. But you and I will always be back then. You and I will always be back then. You and I will always be back then. You and I will always be back then.
For our first show of the week, we are closing out Adventure Time with Season 10, Episode 13, Come Along With Me, which is the series finale. 40-minute quasi 3-part finale. I'm gonna throw this to you. What did you think about this?
Well, first and foremost, I appreciate that we finally got the whole Come Along With Me song. Because I've always enjoyed that tune at the end of the episodes, but I was like, there's got to be more to this. And there was in this final episode. I appreciate that. But on the bigger scale of things, I like that it starts off with these characters we've never met before, but are still very similar because it's the same dynamic that we've known, but it's clearly a different generation, right? And I appreciate that they go to find this legendary ooh, that they've heard about. And who do they come upon? But BMO. Like, I just
Oh,
and
yeah.
BMO's the one that tells the story of the end. And I love that. Like, I love BMO so much. And so it was just like, yay, BMO gets to tell the story. And then chaos ensues because, like, everything that happens in this episode, I would say miniature movie because it's it felt like a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Chaotic in the best way. Like, this was like the essence of what we've been falling in love with for the last 10 seasons. And I felt like it was a great way to end the show. It wrapped things up in a way that made us feel satisfied, but still left the potential for more content, which obviously we know we're getting more content. I especially liked the when they're all battling each other, and then they Princess Bubblegum, Fern, Finn, Gumball, and Jake come together, and then they do the thing where they go into like a dream world, and Bubblegum and Gumball are like following each other around trying to vanquish each other or whatever. Jake is kind of just hanging out, and then he's like, oh, well, I want a twin, and so he brings his brother into the dream world somehow, and they share a sandwich, and then whatever. And then you've got Finn and Fern, and it's just that I think was the strongest part of this episode. It felt very in line with everything we've seen this season, very in line with where we've trajectory been leading to. And it was just fun. It was very fun to see Bubblegum and Gumball go back and forth, and one be successful. No, then they got to move location, and the other one's successful. Like, it's really, really fun.
Yeah,
But yeah.
it's such a perfect distillation of like everything that Adventure Time had been. Like you said, you have the Dreamscape, which is such a loving tribute to like Adventure Time's habit of being very weird and experimental, and then the rest of the episode being very high octane action, high octane and emotional action. So yeah, it it works fairly well. It's always a finale that really gets to me, but it's never as good as as I want it to be. And like series finales in general are so hard; they're so difficult to
Mm-hmm.
pull off right. Anytime one does, like it's a miracle. But
Yeah, I feel like it was 80% what I wanted, and then there was still a few things that I was just kind of like, it could have been a little better.
yeah,
But it was still overall very enjoyable. Really liked it. I felt it did close things out in a decent way.
yeah. A big problem that I always have is that "Time Adventure," the song, and towards the end of the episode, should not have been sung by BMO. Uh, like that's so obviously a Jake
No.
song. Uh,
Yes.
because they so Rebecca Sugar premiered this song at Comic Con before the finale aired, and she played it on her ukulele, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's going to be such a deeply powerful, affecting song that John DiMaggio sings." Like, obviously,
Hmm.
um, and for like BMO is just not the right voice for this song. I love so much of the song itself.
Yes.
This the song of time isn't real. Time is just our our stupid human brains needing to process time as linear, but it's not linear. Time is happening all at once. Time
Yeah,
is
and it even starts off saying, like, Jake even starts off saying, "I wrote this for my boy," and it's like, okay, then why aren't you the one getting to sing it?
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it really gets at the core idea of Adventure Time and this finale too, of again, time is happening all at once. So it's this idea of everything good that has ever happened to you is currently happening right now, which also means that everything bad that's ever happened to you is happening right now. But that's not the part of this that the show wants you to focus on. But
True.
it's this idea that because everything
Hmm.
good that's ever happened is happening right now, there's no such thing as change. Nothing can
Right.
change because everything is happening and it's still happening. And so it's this idea of yes, of course, time is cyclical. Like going back to like the two that we see at the beginning of this episode and throughout the episode, like thousands of years, hundreds of years later, time is cyclical, and we just kind of see the same things pop up again, and the same kind of people pop up again, and the same kind of archetypes happen, and the same kind of like Jake and Vince will continue to happen because that's the way the world works, and that's the way time works, which I find very beautiful, and it's very affecting. And if it had been sung by not Bebo, I get why Bebo and the plot that they lay out. I get that, but it just shouldn't have been.
It's definitely would have had a deeper impact coming from Jake. Because in this episode, we see him realize that, like, oh, Bubblegum has this doppelganger, character that's very much Bubblegum, but in a different font, whatever. And so does Finn. And wait, what do I have? And that's when he brings in his brother, but like it's still not quite the same,
Right.
but it is. And so like that's where he gets this idea to write this song. And so like it would have been such a beautiful moment to have Jake be the one that's like, "Hey world, here's this thing I wrote and I'm going to sing it for you."
Mm, yeah. But also the destruction of the treehouse um, cuts at my core every time I see it.
I don't want to talk about it.
not just because of like the deep significance that it has, like the show and to us and to these characters, but like also that animated set. It is hard. It is hard and very expensive to draw like sets, and so like
Mm-hmm.
if you destroy a set, that's deep and that's meaningful. And it really does cut to like, oh, this is the end. You know, this is
Yeah.
it. Without even getting into like, oh, it's the treehouse. Just like the treehouse itself, like, drives me up a wall in the best way.
Yeah, there were definitely some really deep emotional hits in the episode, and it really, made you stop and appreciate all that these characters have taken us through.
Yeah.
But, like, especially, oh my gosh, especially towards the end with Betty and Simon, I just was like, you guys are together again. Like, I paused and had a little bit of an emotional moment for that. I've always loved Simon slash Ice King, so that I like to see his, you know, somewhat happy ending.
Right. Well, that's also kind of one of my problems of it. Of like, I don't know that I needed Simon to be brought back. You know,
That's fair.
as opposed to the Ice King, and that's kind of the only way that you can resolve the Betty plotline. But Betty becoming Gulp is just
I mean, did we need it? No, but did I like it? Yes.
yeah.
Also, just when Ice King just comes in to kind of help save the day, it's just like, hello, sir. Yes.
The other thing we definitely have to talk about is the Bubblegum and Marceline kiss.
Yes. I was very much like, ee. And then just during the come along with me sequence when they're like cuddled together on the couch, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, you're
They're
cute. You're so
they're
cute.
so adorable.
I just fucking love them so much.
Yeah, like
I also just love that Marceline is like trying to talk her down this episode, and she's just like, no, you don't understand. And Marceline's like, no, no, I have lived this. I don't need to live another one. Please don't go to war.
yeah. It's really interesting because it puts Marceline in like that voice of reason mode, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not a position that Marceline usually gets to take.
No, she's typically the one that's like, you're gonna do something batshit crazy? Okay, I'm in.
Yeah,
She's usually the first one to encourage. But in this case, she gets to be that, okay, this is me showing my age. I have lived through something like this. Please, and I was just like, yes.
yeah.
I'm so glad to see you be that voice of reason. It's a nice character growth for you. It also really shows your hand and how you feel about her. I will never say no to that.
No, no. Yeah, I can't even really describe what it felt like to see them kiss in this finale, like when it first aired, because